No one but Marilyn could do justice to Bus Stop, the smash hit that had Broadway howling for more and more. With Arthur O'Connell, Betty Field, and Hope Lang as her traveling companions. And just look at the guy who ropes Marilyn. Introducing Hollywood's newest hunk of man, Don Murray.
Yeah!
He didn't want her to know that when it came to women, he knew nothing but nothing. She didn't want him to know that when it came to men, she knew plenty, but plenty.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. It's me, Ryan. How you going?
Good. And I'm Bartek. And you're Ryan.
And I'm Ryan, and I'm a 28-year-old man from Melbourne, sitting here recording a podcast with you, a fellow person who's Polish in descent, as am I. Mm-hmm. And that's the exposition that we're going to get out of the way right up front in the beginning of this story.
I object. I don't want to be labeled as a person. I'm Bartek. And you're Ryan.
We're not people, we're Poles.
No, I'm Bartek, and you're Ryan.
Spitting Polish likely because we're always spitting. We both happen to be people. Or Ryan's and Bartek's.
Spitting People presents.
Spitting People who are Polish. PP, Polish People, presents Pictures Powwow, the other PP. Mm-hmm. The original PP, unlike other people's usage of that term, this is where it came from. If you have any doubts on who came up with PP, it was us.
In Pokemon, there's an item called PP Up.
I know. And we came up with it first. And that actually stands for Pictures Powwow Up.
Yeah. That's where I got the name from.
That's where I got it from. Should we sue who owns Pokemon?
It's either going to be Nintendo, Game Freak, or the Pokemon Company.
Okay.
I don't think there's a name gives us
Who's
a hint
the person in charge of Pokemon? Who's like the mega mind of Pokemon?
What was
who's the
his name?
Steve Jobs of Pokemon?
I think it began with an M.
Oh, Bartek's having to grab out his phone.
I want to say Matsuda, but I think that was Tekken.
One of the times Bartek's knowledge of video games and Japanese products is failing us here. While Bartek frustrates himself to tears trying to figure it out, let's get into things. We are a movie podcast. We talk about a movie that has come recommended, and we are talking about a 1950s Marilyn Monroe movie called Bus Stop, which was recommended by a friend of ours. Isn't that right, Bartek? It was...
No.
Okay.
It was a friend of ours, Chum.
That's what you put them down as, because a little while back they recommended two films. We've already done one, which was boy, why am I forgetting?
A
Streetcar Named Desire. Thank you. I was thinking about the actors. I was like, why am I not getting past this?
Yes, he recommended us public transport films.
And then, yeah, it's true. It's very true. Is that why?
A streetcar is a tram.
And two from the 1950s.
Yes. Wasn't the phrase that Will said, like, he wanted us to get cultured or something?
I wanted them to get wrecked.
That's not what I said.
That's what I said. And we got culturally wrecked. So who was the Pokemon person?
His name was Satoshi Tajiri.
Was.
It's now some guy.
Hydra got him.
It's interesting because in Japan Pokemon anime, the main characters...
Are you okay? In Japan. You're really struggling. The Japanese have got you today.
The main character of the anime in Japan, his name is Satoshi, so it's the same
instead of
name.
Ash.
Yeah, instead of Ash.
So it's an author insert.
Maybe at least name.
Who's their Misty?
Kasumi.
No. This person's Misty. Who is it? Did they destroy a girl's bike when they were a little
girl that they traveled with for a while and then not anymore?
I will never get past the brilliance of Pokemon where Misty leaves because she finally gets a new bike.
Hey, Will's chum, are we cultured yet? Talking about Pokemon instead of Bus Stop?
Get wrecked. Bus Stop, 1956 Marilyn Monroe film. That's obviously what I think many people would gravitate towards this. To talk about getting cultured, I do believe The director of this also has a bit of a catalog. Paint Your Wagon is a film I think that they directed, if I'm using my memory banks in the West Pacific. Yeah, Paint Your Wagon, which we all know from The Simpsons, and that great musical
the definitive version.
Gotta paint that wagon, gotta paint it good. I love it. So
gotta paint that wood.
I have no history with Bus Stop. I didn't know it. I didn't even know its name. When some of these films pop up, I'm like, oh, I know of its name at least. Didn't know about Bus Stop. I said to my wife, who's a bigger watcher of Marilyn's films than I am. I've only seen a handful. And so I said, oh, we're watching this. And my wife, Rachel, had no knowledge of this film either. I had a brief look at the cast to see, oh, who's the guy? Who's the guy? And I didn't recognize the man. I just went, oh, okay. And then I scrolled and went, oh, I know this actress. So this must be good because I know one other actress who's her Marilyn Monroe's friend at the saloon, her one who when they go to the rodeo, as they call it, she's the one that's like she's Marilyn Monroe's on top of the guy and she's talking across the thing,
indicating to each other.
She was a great actress. She was in a really good film called The Bad Seed, and she gives one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a movie in that. So I was happy to see her. And other than that, I didn't know the plot. I didn't know if it was in black and white or color.
I didn't either, so I was surprised.
Yeah, in a weird way, I've seen Marilyn Monroe in a few things, but because I always think of her in Some Like It Hot, I always think of her in black and white. So whenever I see her in a color film, I'm just like, oh, yes, of course. Even though she was in numerous amounts of films in color, and obviously many iconic images of her are in color, I just associate her with Some Like It Hot so much. So that's where I'm at with this. What about you? Walk us through Bus Stop, your journey with it.
I had not heard of it at all, so I've definitely gotten cultured. Yeah, it was completely blind for me. In fact, I don't think I've even seen any other Marilyn Monroe films.
Really?
Yeah, barely knew much about her, to be honest.
Really?
It was one of those things where I know she's important.
She's saying happy birthday to the president.
Yeah, but not to me, so it doesn't matter.
To JFK.
To JFK.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. I always think of The Simpsons with that too.
So wait, that was a real life thing? That wasn't a movie?
That was a real. There's always the thing of JFK and her probably. There's conspiracy theories that you can go down. There's a whole conspiracy theory that she didn't actually die the way that they claim that she died, but in fact that she was assassinated by the CIA because she was undermining the presidency because she may have been having a sexual affair with the president. So it's a whole can of worms. There's even a Quantum Leap episode of Marilyn Monroe where Sam leaps into like her security guard guy and gets to know Marilyn Monroe, who is a very complex individual, to say the least.
Okay, well, by the end of this episode, we'll find out the truth, I'm sure.
Yeah, the truth is out there.
That's the point of Bus Stop.
So, what did you think, Bus Stop? You had no understanding of what you're walking into. You have no real familiarity with Marilyn Monroe's work, but at least I would say you would at least have some familiarity with the image of Marilyn Monroe,
yes.
The blonde bombshell.
Yes, when I said that I knew that she was significant, that wasn't an understatement. You know, I phrased it last week as, oh, I've seen her legs. It's the image of her, you know, above the thing that blows up the dress. She holds it down. Obviously heard a lot about her. She was always brought up as a sort of famous visual icon of 50s and 60s. I'd even heard, you know, there was some sort of relation to JFK. Just this very significant figure.
The voice. Even
the
her
voice,
breathy voice, which is different in this movie. She's putting on a southern twang. In
that much I can't really speak for, because I guess the only time I remember hearing her voice is in this film now, which she's putting on an accent, so maybe not as much. But yeah, there was basic myopia, pop culture myopia that came across that I was aware of who this was. So when it was like, oh, this is a Marilyn Monroe film, I'll finally see something of her, and I have.
And what did you think?
It was okay.
Bartek, sounds like you didn't get cultured enough.
I didn't get cultured enough, no.
But you got wrecked, bro.
No, I had a decent time with it. There were just a couple of things, Yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I have to find my words, don't I?
Use those words, cowboy.
Use those words, cowboy.
You also have to get the captain of this bus to give you a good beating.
Will's chum's going to get me beaten. Yeah, there were just a couple of, I guess, cultural values that
have shifted.
You probably know where I'm going with this, yeah. But
do I ever?
And I don't want to. Before we even get into that, I don't want to give the impression that, like, you know, I'm just gonna be shitting on the values of the time or
the past,
or the past, or the fact that, you know, Hollywood at this era. We even kind of brought it up with Will's friend's recommendation, The Streetcar Named Desire, where, you know, there has to be a happy ending at the end, even if, you know,
it doesn't make any sense,
even if it doesn't make sense, or there are some dark things going on. Like, there are many times in this film where I'm watching and I'm like, this relationship's not gonna work, this is not gonna have a happy ending, but I know that because of the era that it comes from, there will be a happy ending, and there was.
Oh, you know it from the beginning.
Yeah.
When he's like, I'm looking for love, and you're like, you're gonna get it, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, not that I expected, but you got it.
That's exactly it. And to some extent, it was fun seeing, you know, the fact that it had to play out that way. But yeah, it had some engagement issues for me in that sense. How about you, Ryan? What do you think?
Well, I was excited, honestly, because the movie opens up and it has a cool little song, and I went, "Oh, is this going to be a musical?" And then I went, no, it can't be, because they're not listing any songs in the opening credits, and that's how that usually goes. And then there were kind of musical numbers, but it's not a musical. I wouldn't say this is a musical.
No, she sings a song at one point, and there's this one recurring song that some characters, like, diegetically sing.
Yeah, in the back of the bus with the guitar. And so, and I like the banter between our two guys to begin with. I slap me on the wrist and call me an uncultured swine, but... And it wasn't until the end of the movie that I just didn't click that they weren't relatives. I honestly thought it was his uncle or something, but then it's like, no, he's just his friend. He's like his dad's age, but whatever. He grew up in a barn.
It clicked for me eventually, but not early on. It was just...
Oh, I just was blind because that character fades away from the movie a bit. His friend just becomes very secondary. I was actually expecting him to get a love interest in the movie more than we actually get any real implication.
I thought he had one with the Grace character.
I thought that was the bus driver's love interest.
Yeah, well, it kind of shifted.
Well, which of these two older gentlemen gets the older lady?
But yeah, like at the beginning of the film, he really is this kind of like father figure character. It's like if in Cannibal the Musical, the guy that wants to, you know, have sex, like he has his father in the very first scene. It felt like if that character kind of was like stayed around for the whole film.
Okay, so the beginning of the movie, I had a chuckle because the very first exchange of lines were like very bad exposition, where it's just like, why, golly gee, main character, you're a 21-year-old single male. And now you're leaving the country for the first ever time to go search for a lady. What do you think about that? And he's like, whoa, I really do feel a lot of feelings about that. The exact feelings are as such. What's the plot of the movie, boy? Well, the plot of the movie is going to be this. I want a certain type of lady, but oh boy, if I meet a lady that doesn't match that criteria, my world's going to be shaken upside down and turned inside out. And then the guy goes, hoo, 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 hoo. Women, they sure are different to us, huh? And he's like, I don't know, I haven't really met any, but I am going to do so in the journey of this 94-minute feature-length film. And I just went, okay.
Well, there's
a lot of stuff happening here that I just was like, okay, it's a period of the time. I get it. I've watched movies like this. Doesn't excuse it, because there are movies that we have done from this period of a time that has done this better, but this kind of gave me flashes of the Caine Mutiny, where it was kind of corny in that way too, but the Caine Mutiny, spoiler alert, is a much better film than this. But one thing that stuck out to me was our main guy, the cowboy. I said this out loud to my wife. I said, gosh, why does this movie not want me to like this guy? Because immediately I didn't like him. I went, I don't like them, but I know the movie wants me to like them. But he was so unlikable to me. The performance, the whole I'm a good old country boy attitude, I couldn't help but think about how this guy would be a good friend of the cowboys from Blues Brothers, the good old boys, and how he would be like chasing them for stealing their gig. I honestly was like, okay, this movie wants me to like him. It's that typical romanticism of the South America and Americana values and the good old boy cowboy who's looking for love, and all of that turns me off in this movie straight away. So I immediately asked, gosh, why is this guy not likable to me? Why does this movie want me to like this unlikable guy? And that's all I kept asking. And then the movie introduced its plot to me, and I sat there being like, oh no, you need to have a far more likable protagonist than the one you've got for me to even allow this pitch to fly.
Ryan, he's really good at rodeo.
God, I was really expecting that to come back into the plot somehow.
It did. They went to the rodeo.
No, but I mean, like in the third act, that's how he impresses
her. They were leaving the rodeo.
Oh God.
So, piggybacking off what you're saying, I also had very conflicted feelings about our main character. To some extent, I mean, I like the whole idea of, you know, the character who's different has their own values, and that might not fly so well in social situations, but they kind of come out on top for, you know, their charisma or whatever. And like little elements of that were there, but the thing that I kept, you know, jumping my mind back to, and I don't want to say this in an insensitive way because it was like, you know, kind of an allegorical thing. You know, this character isn't like autistic or anything like that, but in social situations throughout this film, like he is just not getting through these scenes in a, you know,
socially
acceptable way. He's not quite endearing himself to a lot of people. And it ended up making it feel like a cringe comedy for me.
And it's supposed to be like a farcical comedy where you laugh at the guy for not understanding the social... You know, we've seen that.
Yeah, I understand that.
But... Inspector Clouseau, anybody?
Yes. But it just was really on top. Like when he jumps on top of a table to scream at people to shut up in front.
It's not funny. That's the thing. It's just not funny. It's scary.
Yeah, because
very scary.
Because he's also the thing that kind of, the way I interpreted them, like getting angry was like, hey, you're standing up, obstructing the view, distracting us from the show.
And you're scaring her.
And you're scaring her. Sit down. But then the scene
keeps
going, and it concluded with her saying like, oh, they were so impolite. It was good of you to, you know, make them less rowdy. And I was like, oh, that's not how I read it at all. I thought that this guy is just, you know, socially awkward in a way that's not quite endearing. Because, you know, when we do have an autistic character, you know, there's usually some sort of endearing quality to that.
Yeah, an antisocial character, definitely.
Yes, and
his performance is terrible. I'm just going to say that now. He's the worst performance in the movie. I read some reviews of the Times and reviews now, and people threw shit at Marilyn Monroe because she's Marilyn Monroe, and you can't take her seriously as this Southern Belle saloon singing lady, blah, blah, blah. And she's making all of these choices, but I understood those choices when watching it. She's playing it like this is a drama. She's not very funny in the movie, but he's playing it like not as a comedy, but as a pantomime. He's so over the top and yelling and exaggerated. But here's the thing. An over the top comedic performance has a certain... It's kind of hard to define, but you just know it when you watch it. You go, there's something funny there. Like, there's a difference between this guy and Chris Farley, where Chris Farley would be very over the top and play angry characters, right? But there was a certain ha-ha-ness to it. But this guy, when he gets, like, fucking angry, it's not fun. He's not funny. He reminds me of the lead character from the movie Tyrannosaur, which we've done on this podcast, where that guy, when he got fucking angry, it was scary. But there was something endearing about his character. This guy, I think naturally, and I'm curious to get your takes on this because you and I come from very different backgrounds.
Mhm.
I'm from the country.
Yes.
I understand what they're doing here, and I also understand the hollowness of it because there's this thing, right, where city people, like the people who wrote this script, obviously this is an adaptation
That's
of
a really good point
play,
to bring up, yes.
adaptation of a stage play, has that naive wistfulness about what it is to be a good old-fashioned country cowboy and how there's this romanticized view of what it is to be in the country. And then there's people like me, who's from rural areas, and I look at this and I go, this is just almost pornographic
Ryan,
in
how
its
many-
sensibilities.
How many tables have you stood on?
Oh, all
yelled
of the
at
tables.
every
All of the
table?
tables.
Okay, get down from the table. You don't have to prove the point.
But that's kind of a disconnect that I had, even though, yes, I'm from rural Australia, born in the 90s. Obviously, there's going to be differences. I know this, but I've seen this repeated in movies from the dawn of time and in media where there's this kind of comedic or romantic or sentimental or idealized version of what it is to be in the country that just rings completely false. And this was one of those for me. What about you? I mean, you have a different background to that.
Yes. But even putting aside, my real life context of not coming from the country, when you have that kind of element in stories, usually the thing that makes the, country person interesting is that there's a philosophical angle to them, which explains some of their, personality quirks. Like we even got it in when we watched Twin Peaks. Like, this is a close community. The crime isn't too extreme that most people are aware of until the fact that a big crime has happened is the thing that's kind of set everything off.
Yeah.
People are very warm to people coming from outside. There's a real kind of wholesomeness to it. And this character seems...
But there's also an underbelly that goes underneath that wholesomeness.
Also an underbelly, yes, but focusing on, the positive qualities. It's like, what sort of upbringing has this guy had that made him such an excitable and kind of, crazy, kooky guy that behaves this way? It's like, well, if we wanted to work backwards, what would we come up with, and why is it so exaggerated?
He feels like he was experimented on, where it's like he literally grew up in a barn by himself, and this guy would come every now and then.
Before, when we thought that his friend was, his father or his uncle, did this guy raise this person?
Right.
There's this disconnect because he's really calm, really sociable. He talks to ladies very politely.
Yeah.
He, is trying to steer him on the right social
Even his
mannerisms.
friend has seen movies.
Yeah.
Has he not seen movies?
I think there's even a mention that he's seen movies, yeah.
Yeah, because his older friend, I can't believe it's just his friend, I want to keep calling him his uncle, kisses the lady's hand, and she's like, what are you doing? It's like, I saw it from the movies, and I thought,
that was the line, yeah.
One of the things that's really bizarre here, that's a disconnect, is we're trying to grapple with multiple things when watching it. You go, okay, when you're watching a movie, whether it be from this era or the current, there's that buffer zone of time where you go, okay, what's the reality of the world of this film?
Yes.
How is it different to mine? How is it similar to other things I've watched? And he exists as the only character here.
The friend?
The lead man, sorry.
Yep.
Where his justification for why he is he grew up in this rural area, as does the other guy, and as does so many other characters we see throughout the movie. It's not like Marilyn Monroe's in the big city, but he treats it as his reasoning for being the way he is because that's just how it is. And I just can't get past, it's like, is this how he interacts with everybody? If so, how does anyone stand him? Because he's a psychopath if that's how he treats it. Because there's this moment that I hate so very much where he comes up to the realization that he's treated her like shit. And he says something along the lines of, somebody says this, whether him or his friend, that women are different. And Marilyn Monroe says through the writer's voice, naturally. And it's like, yeah, you still treat them they're not a fucking different entire species. There's differences between men and women, but social interactions can still have some standard between the two. He treats it like an animal, like an actual literal creature. throughout the entire film. And it's like, but with the guys, it's just like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where I want them to actually, and his performance is so over the top. I just want them to rein it in, because there's something you can say there, right? Where there's an inherent sexism that could come from him and he learns a lesson. But it's not that he's just sexist, which is obviously the thing that we're getting at the root of here. It's he doesn't even treat her
when he
like a real individual that's standing in front of him. He treats her like me.
Let's just throw out there, he lassos her at one point.
What a scene! what a scene!
And then it just jump cuts to them on the bus.
He kidnaps her.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be like
abduct
this
and kidnap.
Funny, endearing little thing, and I just,
as the film goes on, like before he gets beaten up by the bus driver, there's just so many points where, like, if this was a more modern film, like it would be the twist, like, oh, he was the villain all along. Like, this is us seeing that, you know, this is the main character all along. The person we were following, that we were meant to be endeared to for his eccentricity, is actually the bad guy, and he'll be defeated in the end. But then my mind just kept going back to, but this is a film from the 50s.
And it's a romance.
And it's a romantic comedy, as Wikipedia says so it has to have a happy ending. Are you going to make me believe this happy ending?
And did they?
Well, he didn't say soz, so no, I didn't.
Yeah, it's just one of those films where, even for the times, I read some reviews from the times, there were even people back then who didn't think that this was good and thought that this was #problematic. No, there were people back then as well as now. This is an age like milk type of film. And okay, there's many movies we've done on this podcast that have these kind of audacious, dark, fucked up kind of plots, and we like them anyway. And it's because of whatever circumstances that in that movie, right? Where it's really funny. Like, this wasn't funny enough for me. Like, the whole gag, the central gag is laugh at this guy treating her like garbage. That's the gag. Yeah, you're supposed to laugh at her being slapped in the face by men and treated like shit, because it's Marilyn Monroe. It's funny. And it's like, she's not playing it like a comedy. That's the weird thing. It's like everybody else in the movie is playing it like a drama, weirdly. Well, the main guy, I don't know how to describe how he's playing it. He's over the top for sure. But yeah, it's like the central gag of the movie is this guy treats her like shit, and he doesn't know any better, even though she screams at him and tells him, and she's crying and whimpering. It's kind of funny. That's the gag.
It's like we're watching a woman in danger film, where the person that is, you know, tormenting her is Jim Carrey from The Cable Guy.
Yeah, but even The Cable Guy lent into it being a horror film.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. This isn't a horror film, but that's the film that I'm comparing it to, The Cable Guy.
It's like if Alfred Hitchcock made Psycho, but genuinely was like, no, but Norman's good. It's like, yeah, he has a sympathetic edge for Norman, sure, but like Norman's bad, by the way.
The Cable Guy was also had a sympathetic edge, but
he was also bad, by the way. I don't. Okay, now to give the film credit.
Song was nice.
I genuinely didn't expect them to address it, because they do address it. They do address like him being a fucking weirdo, and like all of the characters turn on him and then they beat him the fuck up. I genuinely didn't expect that to ever happen, because oh my god, if you listen to the podcast, if you know me, Bartek, you should know this, that scene on the bus where she's like pleading to this other woman, and then when the other woman's like helping her, but then she sees what the handsome cowboy's like, then the woman starts to fucking gaslight Marilyn Monroe to actually stay with him. I wanted to kill myself. I was like, this is fucking disgusting. I cannot believe you're doing this. So I didn't actually, when that happened, I didn't expect them to actually address proper that he's like a fucking weirdo who needs to get over his bullshit, and what he's doing is morally reprehensible. So to give the film credit, they do tackle it in the way.
The film is aware that, you know, this guy needs to change, yes, but I guess because we always kind of lean on the friend character, right? He's always, the sensible voice of reason. Like, he straight up is, plots with Marilyn Monroe and her friend at the saloon to, like, this is how we're going to get you out of this. This is the plan. I'm his friend, so I'm going to help you on that end to make sure the plan works. Like, he's trying to stop him from breaking into a room while she's trying to get dressed to jump out the window. And all throughout the film after that point, especially after, the first moment of, like, we're getting engaged, like, he sees the bullshit that's happening. And I did like that character, and I knew that this character exists for a reason. He's not the antagonist. He's the voice of reason. Something has to happen in the end. Marilyn Monroe can't just accept that she likes this situation. That would be too unbelievable for me.
And then the movie's like, watch her do it though. Because they kissed real good. But she's like crying.
Yeah, but when we got to the second bus stop scene, like at the very end of the film, before the fight, like you said, everyone was against the main character at this point, pretty much. Like, he was rude. He wasn't closing the door.
But he still wins. He still gets the girl. Like, I can't get past it. The movie's ending was always what you say. You know he's going to win.
Yeah.
So the moral here...
He got emasculated to get there, but he did win.
But, by the time we get there, he's so far gone from me, the audience, that I don't give a shit that he got punched and emasculated and brought down to earth. Him getting with Marilyn Monroe at the end really just sours me on the movie, even because it's going to happen. You know it. But it's just, you don't buy it, right? You don't buy this. Even if he got punched up and then he's like, oh, golly gee, now can we kiss? And then, that magical Hollywood kiss that really makes her forget about all the fucked up things he's done throughout this entire runtime.
When they had the thing of like, oh, can I have one final kiss to say goodbye? And I was like, okay, it's going to be like a simple thing. And then he straight on the lips and was like, oh, no, okay, so he's definitely going to win in the end.
It's also very funny because this is the pairing we got, which was A Streetcar Named Desire, which deconstructed this. Like, genuinely was like, Stanley's like a creep. And you get swayed by his charm and his 1950s Marlon Brando bravado, but really he's a fucking, like, creepy sexual predator, testosterone-filled, angry, violent man.
And in that episode, I remember still kind of embarrassed about it. Like, when I was watching the film for the first time, I was thinking like, oh, somehow this film's going to justify this. And there's going to be like, oh, happiness in this, fucked up relationship. But no, that one, at least, despite its very laughable ending, it at least did address that, no, this relationship is awful.
This doesn't. This is like, if this was the goal, to pair these two movies together to show us one that unironically praises the Stanley type character, then congratulations, what a great pairing, because this movie is unironically in love with this type of guy. Oh, they beat him up and say he's a bit of a turd, but then he just proceeds to be the fucking idiot he is, and he gets with the hottest chick of that time. And so here we are watching Bus Stop. I honestly didn't enjoy any of it. There's no real scene, there's no real jokes or characters that I liked, because even Marilyn Monroe in this movie, I can't say I liked her character all that much. I felt sorry for her.
I felt very sorry for her.
That doesn't mean I engaged with her character. It's more, I felt sorry for women more than I felt sorry for her character or the actress. I just felt like, fuck, man, could you imagine being a woman in the 50s watching this movie and every guy's like cheering him on? And all the women in the movie are gaslighting her to get with him. I watched this with my wife Rachel, and she was like cringing out of her skin so hard watching this.
Yeah, like I said, it feels like a cringe comedy watching it today.
Yeah, with the lacking amount of comedy though. Because did you find it funny? Because it's a comedy. That's what we're here for. Maybe
at the very beginning, before we really got into this character, I was like, oh, this is going to be like an over-the-top character. But then as it went on, like I said, it just became kind of unintentionally cringe comedy, I guess. Maybe intentional. I don't know.
I didn't get to really grasp when the movie presented what the pitch is. When it gets to that point where it's like, and the pitch is he's going to forcibly take this woman from her life because he's in love with her. What did you think? Because that's like when that was presented to me, I don't think I've had this amount of dread from a movie in a very long time.
It was pretty much when he went to the saloon and, you know, he did the yell thing, like, oh, that's a bit much. Then he, like, took her out back when she was clearly hesitant to. I was like, ooh. But then during that scene, like, she was kind of into him. So I was like, okay, maybe that was just, you know, weird 50s thing. It's going to be normal from here. But then we follow that up with, like, and we're getting married. It's like, what? I didn't agree to that.
She's running away from him.
Yeah.
And then he stalks her
and then
gets into her bedroom while she's asleep.
And then for the rest of the film, it's her just talking about how she really wants to get away from this situation. And if this was, like, again, if this was a modern film, this would be, like, the Thriller kind of film of, like, guys after me, people aren't helping me, what am I going to do? But it's just this attempting to be a comedy kind of film.
This is Stockholm Syndrome, the film. Because she just falls in love with him eventually because she's been kidnapped and abused by him and has no other resource. Has no other choice. So she's like, oh, I love him in the end. This is one of those where I go, look, I'm a fan of older cinema and I often poo-poo, like, people like, oh, I don't like watching older cinema because it's in black and white or it's racist and sexist. I'm like, oh, I know that's there too, but there's merit to watching golden age cinema, and there's a reason for why these actors are as big as they are. And then you watch this and you go, you know, yeah, well...
yeah, that's why when I started talking about it earlier, I was trying to preface with, like, look, I don't want to just shit on the values of the time. I wanted to find merit in this as well. But...
No, and there's great films with elements of their time that does harm it, but you still appreciate what it is. Like, I still like Gone with the Wind. Is it very racist? Of course. But it still has some fantastic acting and great story in the center of it all and great character work and all of that. We've talked about it numerous times with many older films on this pod, but this is the one. I think this is like the first older movie where I went, Jesus Christ. Fucking
this
hell.
This is a bit much.
Even, you brought up Cannibal the Musical earlier. You brought up that earlier.
Yes, I did.
I don't even know if Trey and Matt would do this, you know? I don't know, would they? Could you see them making this movie?
I would love them to remake this movie.
Who would play the two leads?
I
know.
Okay, Trey and Matt, which one would play Marilyn Monroe?
No. They're the two guys. They'd get a chick to play Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, they're the friend and the main character?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they have to be. They have to be. And
well, we've seen Trey Parker as a romantic lead, so maybe we'll give Matt Stone the main character.
Which movie was it Basketball?
Not Cannibal Musical, bro.
Oh, Cannibal. Which one was the romantic lead in Basketball? It's been a little while since I've watched that.
I have it on DVD, but I haven't watched it yet.
Which one was in Despicable Me 3?
That was Trey, I believe.
Okay, so Trey gets to be the cowboy because he was a villain in that movie, so he has to be a villain here. And the love interest should be, somebody. Is there any particular like actresses they ever work with in their films or movies? Who did the voice of the female puppets in their
That's a good question. I don't know. If we were talking about like
Team America,
if we were talking about like the 90s, it would have like that one voice actress that voiced every South Park girl until she died.
Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't realize. Yeah, because who does the voice of Kyle's mum?
Originally, it was the voice actress I just mentioned, but now I'm not sure. I think they have multiple women voicing all the characters.
Well, let's just say J-Lo.
That's a good choice.
That's a good choice for them.
Yeah.
They love J-Lo.
Mm-hmm. J-Lo's done, we can consider Boy Next Door like a Woman in Danger film, right?
Oh, that's you know what? This perfectly pairs up with that movie. What Marilyn Monroe should have had was the first edition of the Iliad. And that would have been a real winner chicken dinner. What about you? I mean, anything else you want to highlight in terms of positives for this movie? Because I have some behind the scenes stuff I can throw at you, but I don't really. I have nothing much else to say about this movie that isn't just it's supremely uncomfortable.
I mean, I've already said it, but I did find the friend to be a charming character to follow. Doesn't really say all that much because, like you said, he is kind of in the background as the film goes on. But whenever he was on screen, like, I enjoyed him.
He had a nice mustache.
He did. That's the
What about the bus?
subtext.
What about the bus driver? And how he's the captain of this bus stop. This is a registered bus stop. He said the title. He said the title.
Yes. Look, I catch a bus to get to this recording room, and you know what? I'll be honest. I was a bit upset that my bus driver today was not as assertive as the bus driver in this film.
Well, did you start doing push-ups in the bus to test his assertiveness?
God, no. You think I could do a push-up?
But so you're not a cowboy. I would play.
You're the one from the country.
I would play the cowboy. You would play the friend because you also have.
Then again, you don't know about rodeos.
Rodeos.
No, you pronounce it rodeos.
Rodeos, as you call them, rodeos.
Yes, we call them rodeos.
No. So behind the scenes wise, this had a lot of issues.
I had a skim through the trivia on IMDb, and a lot of the first words on all the points were Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe had certain ideas for this, so she adopted this accent. Apparently did really hard work to get the accent going on, and I think this was in her period of time when she had started going to like proper like acting school and classes and whatever.
Yeah, that's what it said. When I read it.
The lead actor hates her. I say hates because he's still alive. He was in Twin Peaks: The Return, for fuck's sake. He was Cooper's boss. I mean, Dougie's boss, Bushnell. He did not like her. Every single trivia point relates to how he didn't like her. That she was selfish. She would run late. She would only really think of, obviously, what's important to her in the scenes and not really be considerate of others in scenes with her. Like, these are his statements.
She would take it as a slight when someone said cut, right? Yeah.
She would take 30 takes to get lines right when usually the average back then was 5. And they would have to cut after she finally got her lines done, even if the other actors didn't get it right or as well, because she's the star. So there's a lot of behind the scenes drama, and obviously there is because it's a Marilyn film. Every project that she was involved in, you will read some kind of drama, like with Marlon Brando after a certain period of time, where in any movie with him you'd read it, there's like pages of drama. It was just of that era, and there's always those type of actors in films where they bring some chaos with them. Whether it's good for the project or not, I'm not going to say, because Marilyn Monroe was a figure that has, in a way, has gone beyond her being a person anymore. She's a legend in weird ways. I mean, we're getting an NC-17 rated, like, super hardcore Marilyn Monroe biofilm in the next couple of months that's going to be on Netflix that has the chick from Blade Runner 2049 in it, the chick from Knives Out, I'm forgetting that actress's name, but so she's this figure. So it's like, oh, well, I read that and go, well, who's right? I don't know. I mean, as an actor, what I hear from the main guy, I go, well, yeah, that sounds frustrating, but also it's like, well, how much can I take? I mean, it's the 50s and she's a woman who knows what she wants. So it's like, I don't know. So there was lots of drama behind the scenes. Apparently, you know, people didn't like him, people didn't like her, and you can kind of see it in the movie that they have no chemistry, but it's kind of hard to say if they should, considering what the content of the film is.
Yeah, their characters are so extreme, and one's kind of taking over the whole thing.
She wanted a specific type of makeup, so it made her look really kind of washed out and white. So that's why she has this kind of almost baby powder white look to her in this movie. More so than she already did. Yeah, those are just some of the things. People accused her of stealing the type of performance from the actress that did this on stage, but then, ironically, people accused that actress a few years later of stealing performance types from Marilyn Monroe in a film later, so it's like, everyone's stealing from somebody. in this era or in general.
To be fair, if you're going to steal something, it may as well be, something from the musical of the film adaptation you're in.
Yeah. But then there's the question of why not just get the actress who did it on stage? She's a film actress too.
Marilyn Monroe.
That's exactly it. That's that's exactly
it.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe, bro. That's
real words from the 50s.
That's all. Bro-yo. That's how you know it's from the 50s.
Bro, we'll give you an Oscar for your performance.
Hey, bro. If Mark Wahlberg was... No, that's how... If you want a real version of this movie today, Cowboy Mark Wahlberg. I know he's not 21. Don't matter.
It's okay. He played Sully in Uncharted.
Oh.
The most 21-year-old character.
Sully's not 21. All right, I've got nothing else other than I got cultured with this movie. Anything else from you? Is this it?
I got cultured.
Recommend this? You don't want to culture everybody else?
I don't think I recommend it.
You don't think, but you know you recommend it.
I know I recommend it, but I don't think I recommend it.
Oh, no, steer clear, people. This was a miserable film to watch. I just zoned out at lots of points, too. I just zoned out. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. We're in the rodeo, and it's just scenes of them outside in the sun. Good.
Oh, yes, you flipped the cow over and you tied it up.
Awesome. How exciting. And then, see, that's foreshadowing because then he's going to lasso her.
Yeah.
She's...
That's what you do to women. Did this film not listen to the episode we did 3 weeks ago where I invented respect to women? I mean, I guess that film came after this one, but...
Wow.
No. See, if we did this episode 4 weeks ago, maybe then I would be recommending it because I liked it a lot, but...
Nope.
No, we've already done how to succeed in business without really trying, and I learned my lesson from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't recommend it.
Nope. All right, but you are recommending a film for next episode.
Yes, speaking of women, the film that I am recommending for next week is a 2016 film called 20th Century Women.
20th Century Women.
Yes, I've mentioned it once or twice on the podcast regarding my history with it, but never much about it.
Is this who's in it? Anyone of note? Am I not?
There was someone in it.
I feel bad because I'm like, do I know this film? I know films. This is a recent film too.
2016. Yeah, I haven't heard too many people talking about it, so it's the one that I'm like, oh, I saw this film. It's like, oh, I've got Annette Bening, Elle Fanning, Greta Gerwig, Lucas Zaid Zuman, and Billy Crudup.
Oh, Billy Crudup.
Do you know all those names?
Yes.
There you go.
We've had a few of them on movies we've done before. Elle Fanning was in your favorite film, The Neon Demon.
There we go.
She was the lead, remember?
Yeah. And what year was that? 2016 as well?
2016
there
as
you
well.
Go.
So we're going to see her in 2 different kind of swings of the thing. Annette Bening's in a ton of stuff. And Billy Crudup, he was in, he's in a bunch. He was Dr. Manhattan in the Zack Snyder Watchmen film.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Alien Covenant. He was the one that Michael Fassbender's like, hey man, look at that egg over there. Put your face next to it. And then he proceeds to do so because he's an idiot. He's a great actor, Billy Crudup, though. I can't remember if we've had him on other movies on this podcast, but he's just one of those character actor guys that's just like, oh, it's Billy Crudup? He's in this. There you go. Well, 20th Century Women will be next episode. That is from 2016, not from the 20th century, but 21st century.
Marilyn Monroe's a 20th century woman.
She was.
Yeah.
Is Annette Bening playing her? Is Elle Fanning playing her?
You'll find out.
Is Billy Crudup playing her?
Shit. One of those things was correct, and I only reacted to the last one. Hint.
Shut up. All right.
He's playing JFK.
Really?
No.
Stop playing me like a fiddle. Okay,
like a damn fiddle.
Like a damn... Well, I don't want to quote it fully, okay?
Well, you didn't, but...
No, I didn't want to. So I succeeded at what I wanted.
Yeah, but you listened to me, and that means that you endorsed what I said, and therefore you did.
Hear that, everybody? Billy Crudup. Now I've got him open because I'm like, what else would we? He's in a ton. All else. Oh, he's in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Your favorite film?
Which cut?
Zack Snyder's
Ooh.
Justice League. He's the Flash's dad.
Very recent.
Yeah, very recent. I mean, he was in the original cut too. There you go.
Whoa. They got him back?
No, yeah. They got to get him back. They got to get everybody back. Oh, he was in Spotlight, the best film ever made. All right, people, you can find us on the social media platforms of Facebook and Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents. We are posting on there every now and then. We'll drop some fun information. We're always posting the episodes on there. Bartek likes to write some funny things sometimes. Sometimes. Sometimes Bartek will just leave it blank and just forget to post any funny thing on there and just have the link.
Did you guys see the picture I posted a few weeks ago of the guy from How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying and Fake Crash? I was very proud of that. No one commented on it, so
hear that?
Try a bit harder, everyone. The picture's still there. Picture's still there. You still have time to react. I thought it was very clever. The day I posted it, I was at work and I was thinking about it all day. I'm like, I can get home, I'm going to make that picture. Then I posted, I think one person liked it, it's a start. Everything starts with one person, but it has to continue with a second and a third maybe. It's very funny. You'll see the joke if you look at their hands. The hand is the joke of the two characters. Did you like it, Ryan? I never actually asked you. Did you like it?
You've seen me talk about it in front of you.
Yeah, but I want to pretend that I didn't so I can hear you say it publicly to people listening. Did you like it?
I saw it.
Yeah, did you look at the hands?
Mm-hmm. And the height.
There was no height joke, Ryan. You're just making shit up.
Both of them are small. Both of them are small things.
The fuck?
I don't want to say Crash is a man.
Alright, just end the episode. It was fake Crash.
Yeah, well, Crash isn't big either.